is quite an exciting presentation. We've got quite a few guests who I'd like to introduce you to now. The first person we're very excited to have joining us is Bobby Perel. He is the founder of Peresoft. So those who are familiar with the AWCape Sage 300cloud product would be very well familiar with the Cashbook, RecXpress, EFT-Express, really great product. So we're very excited to hear from him and why he thinks Sage 300cloud is such a great product and the evolution of that product with him as well. From a Sage perspective, we have two guests joining us, one of which is Peter Hilditch. Unfortunately, due to the Durban riots and him manning many blockades over the last week, his preparation time has been a bit cut short, but he has joined us to kind of put any inputs and any questions you have for him, he's welcome to answer. And then leading really from the Sage side will be Lemohang Radebe, a really a Sage 300 expert. We love to call on him whenever we need to find out something a customer needs support on. And then from our side, I'm Jeff Ryan. I'm the Managing Director of AWCape, and as well as Dr. Khalil du Plessis. So many of our customers are very familiar with Dr. Khalil, with over 30 years of experience in implementing ERP systems, a really value add to this panel today. So it is a very informal discussion today. We welcome any questions. Put your questions in the chat window and we will answer them as we go along, or later on in the session there's a QA session. What really the format of today, through the conversations with the panel, we really want to just go through what Sage 300 Cloud is, what the new features are and what it's offering, particularly around the web screens and other options for you in terms of this digital transformation age and what you need to do. We'll also go through a bit of a demo. Lemohang's got some of the things to show you, especially things that are not in the latest features and the things that are still to come. So that's quite exciting. And also, yeah, getting the insights from Bobby around what he thinks of the product and what's going on. So without further ado, let me chat to Lemohang. Lemohang, just maybe for some of the audience that have joined out of interest, a lot of people, still call it AWCape. They don't see it as 300 Cloud. But maybe for those who don't even know either of those names, maybe just a quick overview of what 300 Cloud is and what it isn't. I think you're just on mute there, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Sage 300 Cloud, or what we used to call AWCape, depending on your age, is our mid-level ERP solution within the Sage product stack within Africa and Middle East. It's a hybrid solution, so it can be deployed on-premise in the cloud. It's modular driven, allowing you to pick what you actually need within your business. So instead of buying a full ERP with multiple modules which you'd never use, with Sage 300, you pick what you actually need. We do, as the core within Sage, we do our financials, which will be your accounts payable, accounts receivable. And then we've got an extensive party of ecosystem developers who have developed over 50,000 apps which plug into Sage 300, which you can actually use, such as your service manager, your projects, your manufacturing, etc.
Yeah, and I think one of the benefits, it's not just a localized South African product. It's a truly global product. And I think the benefit of that is, there's many apps and functionality that's coming from the globe. And then maybe just why, if I was new to the market and looking at this, why would I explore Sage 300 Cloud versus all the other ERP options in the market?
Okay, so Sage 300 is one of our mature applications within our product stack. So with that, it comes with a lot of reliability. So what you can do is you can connect a lot of your functions, such as your finance, your operations, your sales. It comes with a standard CRM application with it. So with that, you can have a broad view of your business. With that application, we can allow you to take control of your business by customizing your solution. So we've got a full SDK within Sage 300, allowing you to customize screens, change business process and logic, and also build applications within there. We have a very good ecosystem of third-party developers, which bring us a nice pair of tools such as BI tools, where we can do reporting, we can give you dashboards. All of this is available in real-time accounting. So as soon as you click on post, you've got all of this data available to you at the touch of your fingers.
Okay, yeah, so I think, what you touched on there, firstly, in the first statement was around hybrid, but also the ability to kind of run your business anywhere through the SDK or through the applications or the web screens. I think just for making sure that everyone's on the same page, what exactly is cloud hosting versus SaaS? So the hybrid model kind of fits under the cloud hosting in a lot of ways, because it is effectively a system that was built primarily to be run on a local server, and now has obviously been extended to be a hybrid option that would run in a cloud-based environment, versus a SaaS-based product, which is effectively built in the cloud on a subscription level, where everything is looked after by the product supplier, and you just pay a monthly subscription. So that would include your hosting, your backup, your disaster recovery, access to the system, user controls, etc. So just to kind of sit where, what those options are, and maybe, Lemohang, you just talk through, how the architecture of 300 Cloud has been configured to fit under these options here.
Okay. So you've got a choice of how you want to run it. The first is third-party hosted, where you can go to a business partner like our trusted business partner, AWCape, where you can ask them to host your solution and maintain it for you. So what they will do is they will provide the hardware, they will do the installation, configuration, and also do your day-to-day maintenance of your SQL, etc. Then you've also got a traditional on-site license application, where you can say, look, I want to have it on-site, on-premise. I still want to run my Windows views, but I want everything in my specific location or within my data center. You are able to do that, and we'll be able to sell you the licensing, and you can deploy it that way. Or you may actually want to say, look, I want to have certain parts of my solution in the cloud. However, I want to still have a outright purchase, or I still want to maintain elements of it. So we can decide what you're going to put in the cloud and what you're still going to have on a traditional licensing scheme.
Okay, the options are pretty unlimited, really. I mean, it's probably the most customizable system in terms of options that are available, which is great to know, and I think just gives that the variety for customers to make the choice that they feel comfortable with. Yeah, and especially with POPI and hosting requirements of data, people might want to have control of their data, or otherwise outsource if they don't have the resources. So it's really, really good to hear that they've got a couple of options. Maybe just to get a bit of interaction from the audience, we'd really like to hear how you're currently hosting your ERP, whether it's Sage 300 Cloud or whether it's some other system that you're using as your primary financial system. I'd ask you just to click on the little smiley face with a hand up, and then you'll see 4 options there. There's a thumb up, a heart, hands clapping, and a big smiley face. So if you're doing it on a local server, there's someone's already done it, they're cloud hosted. One local server, another cloud hosted. Okay, so no SaaS solution so far. Interesting. Okay, so it looks like there is someone in the crowd with a SaaS solution. That's good to hear. Okay, and a couple of thumbs up for local server. Great. So there's quite a variety in the audience there in terms of what people are doing with the ERP system, and I'm sure this webinar is going to give you some thoughts around what you should be doing and where you should be going with your systems. So let's look through, we talked around in general, the items that are available from a cloud hosting perspective. This cloud hosting, the benefit side of things is something that's applicable to SaaS and to cloud hosting. I mean, it is generally lower costing, and we've got Dr. Khalil to work through an example shortly. And we will show you how that converts into, saving you money in the bottom line. But I think the most things, and we did a webinar previously with David Green from Isilumko. What he was saying is just he was getting requests on an IT perspective, and it wasn't his forte, and it wasn't his expertise. To take away the headache of compliance, infrastructure, backup, disaster recovery, forget about the cost aspect. Just from a business productivity perspective, his business really thrived once they made the decision to move the cloud hosting to AWCape. And I think it's something that, you know, a lot of business take for granted, that they think that they can do something better. But when you're competing with someone like Sage or AWS or some of the other bigger providers like Azure, you just, from an economies of scale, you just cannot compete in terms of the expertise. And I think, you know, you agree, Lemohang, that, you know, the options are unlimited, but generally to try and compete and keep up to date versus doing it yourself, it just doesn't make sense anymore.
Yes, I agree. It really doesn't make sense anymore. And also, you don't want those sleepless nights when you call that the server's gone down. Giving it to somebody else is really a good way to go. I feel that it's actually paying for somebody to have your problems.
Yeah, agree. Okay, so on that case, let's look through the cost hosting savings. Dr. Khalil, there. Let's let me give you the screen and you can share.
Right, and everybody see my screen?
Yeah, I can do. So maybe just step through what you've got on screen there, and what someone who's hosting can look forward to.
Yes, so actually quite a number of our current Sage 300 clients are on a hosted server at the moment, and for some obvious reasons. So I'll just go through some comparison that we did infrastructure-wise on-premise against versus having a hosted or cloud service. So if we look at on-premise, so typically the cost for a server would be around 50,000, kind of entry-level server. Of course, you have to then spend a bit of money on having screen, keyboard, mouse. There's some networking equipment because you're on-premise. So you either have to have Wi-Fi coverage or cable. You have to have a server room that you can with aircon and UPSs, especially in this time of load shedding. We have to make sure that we have the necessary power backups. Then invariably you will have to end up hiring somebody as an IT technician. That will probably cost you around 20,000 a month. Then server software, your controllers, backup services on premise if you like, and then also having security around your server room to safeguard it against something like fire, etc. So if you look at all of those costs, if we look at excluding the IT technician, then your once-off cost around 200,000, and take in consideration you're now paying somebody salary. So if we look at over a 3-year period, then your monthly cost is around 25,000. So compare that to a once-off, or not once-off, but the monthly cost for a similar server in the cloud, and often actually more powerful than what you can afford on-premise. You can get typical costing is around 5,000, and as you can see, none of the other costs are you don't have to spend any further costs other than the 5,000, because it's all included in the service. So if you compare then a monthly cost of 5,000 against a monthly cost of 25, that is really what it boils down to. So over 36 months, you've got a huge cost saving of almost 800,000 Rand. So it's about 5 times more expensive to run on-premise nowadays than in cloud. So that makes certain sense, economic sense to really strongly consider hosting the software rather than having an on-premise server.
Yeah, and just to kind of give that a little bit more legs, obviously the auditing requirements generally from on businesses are becoming a lot more onerous, excluding even POPI compliance, but audit requirements in terms of, like you said, around the security room or the backups, the data control, the prevention of hacking. That's not a cost that's kind of showing there, but that would be all inclusive in the monthly cost as well.
Correct. What I didn't mention is actually this cost of 5,000 is based on a five user system. So that allows for 5 remote desktop licenses, which is included in this cost.
Okay, and then for obviously part of this webinar is to also just discuss the web screen sort of part of that. How would that work, Khalil, for the customers?
So as we will see a little bit later, so web screens are basically browser-based, or it allows you to use your browser to access. It uses the licensing from Sage, but it doesn't need a remote desktop license because I'm using it via the internet. So it's just a service that it exposes. So in that way, I might have, say, for example, 10 people that are using Sage 300. I might have only the 3 or 5 people that really need to use remote desktop to use the so-called standard UI to work in Sage if they prefer. So for those, you might just need a limited number of remote desktop licenses and whatever other work they might need to do on the server. But everybody else can access via your web screens, and they don't consume a remote desktop license.
And I think, some of the benefits we don't highlight. With the COVID, a lot of businesses didn't have that accessibility from home, and they didn't have the web screen UI. And obviously the VPN connection and the bandwidth was limited. So a lot of businesses struggled to kind of run these Sage 300 installation as a result of that. And once they moved to this cloud hosting platform, I don't think they've looked back. Am I right?
Yes, I think in general, COVID was a huge benefit in terms of infrastructure and allowing people privately to access and get access to better bandwidth. So that really made it a lot better for us to access through the web screens, which in the past, I think Lemohang and Bobby will agree with me, several years ago, web screens was not very fast at all, and was really a bit of a struggle. But the current version is really fast, and because of not only the technology that improved from Sage and from Peresoft, but also the fact that we have better infrastructure nowadays.
Well, thanks, Dr. Khalil. I think one of the benefits that you didn't mention there, but because we are your preferred business partner, when AWCape also hosts the system, if something goes wrong with the system, the CFO, the financial man, the accountant working late at night, he only has to pick up the call to one person. He doesn't have to try and find his IT department or technician to kind of see, is it a connection problem or is it a problem with the Sage 300 system itself? And I think that also just kind of takes away the headaches that Lemohang was talking about. So thanks, Dr. Khalil. Let me see if I can share again and introduce Bobby. There you are, Bobby. While I get the screen, the slides coming up, maybe you just want to introduce yourself to the audience and let everyone know who you are and the background on Peresoft. I think you're just on mute there if you go forward.
Do you want to put up my slide? There you got a good profile of me.
Just take a bit of
Daisy. I was a bit younger then, and I'm certainly older since then. But okay, I gave you an overview of Peresoft for a reason. I wanted to show you where we got involved with Sage 300 when we started off right at the beginning in 1994 with AWCape and wrote our first Cashbook. for a hotel group. And since then, we have obviously gone to the Windows version in 1996. And then we added our automatic bank recon and our EFT product to the Cashbook. And then finally, we had to write the web UIs. Now, the reason why I went backwards to show you our history is because obviously over the years, we have added more and more features to the product and made an incredibly powerful product. So when we had to go to the web UIs, we had to make sure that the language we were using and the development kit was going to handle the size of the product. Sage 300 is one of the most popular products out there in Africa because of its features and because of how good it is and how it's built up a strong user base and a strong dealer base of people like AWCape who know the product so well. I mean, I know Khalil and I go back years and almost 35 years together where we started doing the product. When we had to write this product into the web UIs, we had to do a huge development to actually add all the features we'd accumulated over the years into the product. Luckily, we only had to rewrite the actual web UI itself, the user interface. We did not have to rewrite any of the database interface, because when we wrote it for the Windows version, we separated the database processing completely from the web UIs, so from the user interface. So when we had to go to the internet, all we had to worry about was doing the user interface to have all the features for the user's point of view, and not touch the posting functions, etc., that were already nicely written and solid and had been debugged over the years. So the process here is quite clear. I'll show you. On the left, we've got the views. We call the data processing side of the web the views, and the views are programs that sit on the actual server. They don't go through the web browser. We push our information to the view, and the view then actually does the posting and updates the database. The beauty about the view, like I said, is that the view has been debugged over the years, so we didn't have any issues worrying about is it posting the data correctly. Secondly, the view is a very small little DLL. I don't know if you know about the actual programming, but it's a little program that we write that processes the data, and it's a very, very small overhead on the server. So it's not like where you go remote desktop and you go in onto the server yourself. This is actually what happens. We send through a command to the server. The server picks up the view and does the posting for us in a very small little overhead, as we said. Therefore, it's very efficient. The processing is all on the server, so the posting functions and the processing functions are very quick, and you will find very slight degradation or slight time processing. In fact, you will find some posting functions and some renumbering functions are quicker running it via the web than running it via on-premise. And of course, that is because we stuck to a 3-tier architecture. So if you look at the picture, you've got on the left, you've got the web, the VB forms that we create, the on-premise UIs. And then on the right, we've got the web UIs. And the only difference between the two really is that the web UI will go via the internet and hit the view via the internet. So that was very, very efficient and very nice to be able to rewrite our stuff. It also saved a hell of a lot of time. As you can imagine, rewriting the UIs already was a huge job, but to have to rewrite the actual posting would have been even a bigger job. So it took four years to rewrite the UI. So we were looking at another 3 years to redevelop the actual the views. So, right, so that's the one side of the process, which is the view side. On the other side, the web UIs themselves. When you install the on-premise version, it automatically installs the web UIs from Sage. And we've got a separate module you install as well, and that'll also install the web UIs. Once they're installed, it's available. You don't have to do another workstation. You have to do nothing. You can then log in from any browser anywhere just by running the command in your browser, and it loads it into your browser. Again, it's efficient. It's written in a nice language, which is JavaScript and MVC, things that you wouldn't want to really know about. But the point I'm trying to make on that is that you don't have to start downloading other products or other programs to make it work on your browser. It loads instantly and it's available straight away. And of course, that is. Sorry,
just to interrupt there, just to make people feel ease of mind as well. I mean, is there any limitation to the web screen versus the desktop application, and what is the cost? Normally, that's the second question.
Okay, first of all, the limit, when you say limit, we had to make sure when we wrote the web UIs, we had every single feature that you already had on the on-premise version. We couldn't afford to leave anything out. So no, there's no limitation to the product. In fact, we even added 1 or 2 extra features, and we could accommodate every single feature from the on-premise. So when you go from on-premise to a web UI, the fields, the input screens, they're identical. They're just in a different shape, obviously, because the browser is slightly different. Okay, but you're going to see every single feed, and they're also in the same sequence. So there's very little training required. In fact, we found people go straight into the web UIs within an hour. They're running, they're processing, they're at home, they're happy with what they're doing, and it seems to work very nicely. So that was a very good fit for what we call the future, because we didn't have to worry about training again. We didn't have to worry about people having to learn the product again. The features they had were all available straight away from the web browser. Okay.
And then the cost side of things?
Well, the costing is obviously we decided, because of COVID, if you're already running the on-premise version, we would not add a cost to the product, and you could have the web UIs for free of charge with your existing installation, as long as you were current on your software assurance. New installations, we do charge a separate fee for the web UIs. Okay, we're not gonna, I don't know if we should mention on this call, but it's roughly about 10,000 Rand.
Yeah, so,
but hold on, one more thing, sorry,
yeah.
is that obviously it uses the LAN packs and everything else already from the on-premise, so you didn't have to purchase that as well.
Okay. So I've got, obviously your next screen is a little bit of a view of that.
Yes.
And we'll probably go into a bit more detail with the demo, some of the web screens that Lemohang go. But from what you're saying and what we've shown already with the hosting side of things, I mean, it would be pretty much a no-brainer for customers, 1, to look at a hosting option, and 2, to look at the web screen option to kind of enhance their already great system that they have. I mean, what are we missing here for customers?
I would say to you the best thing is the hosting, because you're going to remove all the hassle of your servers, and you're worrying about the line and the power failures. I mean, I've actually been running our accounting software now for years already, from a server farm sitting in somewhere in Florida. And we've been running it across with the web UIs for the last 2-3 years. We've got roughly, I don't know, we've got about 200 installations now with web UIs running across into server. And again, like I say, if you look at the screen in front of you, you'll see all the screen layout and the way the screen works is almost identical to the on-premise screen, which is in the middle there. You can see you've got the scroll buttons, you've got the finders, you've got the drill downs, the zoom, everything that you need. So the transition is absolutely painless, and the speed and the operation is absolutely wonderful. I must say, I'm very happy with what we've got. Very happy.
And then, Bobby, just, I mean, you gave a brief history of joining with 300cloud, but obviously you've got a very powerful product and what you do. And I think there's a lot of happy customers out there. I'm sure on the call there's a lot of thumbs up. But thousands, exactly. And but why have you invested so much in 300cloud? Why, if I was a customer on the call right now and I said to you, we're thinking about an ERP system, we're not really sure where to go, why would you say 300cloud is the way forward?
Well, if the client's already using, say, 300, that's a different game.
Yeah.
They would definitely want to go with the cloud and not change, because they're happy with what they have.
Yeah.
They don't want to lose any features. They don't want to have to retrain themselves. So they definitely go to the cloud on that level. Secondly, if a new user wants to go to cloud with, say, 300, they've got a very huge support base as well. You've got a lot of people using it. AWCape knows the product very well, so they wouldn't have to worry about any issues, any problems with data. I remember when I started many years ago with the DOS version, the biggest problem we would have is when the database would be corrupted, or we'd have problems, and then we would go and rebuild the data for the client, and they would keep working. I think that is the crucial part of this about accounting software. It's not, I mean, obviously you want your features, but you want to make sure it works for you and you don't have problems. You want to have a smooth month end. You don't have issues, bugs, etc. And I think Sage 300 Cloud and 300 itself gives you that solid base that has come from years and years of working with it, working with clients. People know it, and it's got its own vibe. People enjoy working it. They like the way it works, the way it lays it out, the way it processes the data, and also the routine. And it keeps errors away, keeps mistakes away. And just finally, we've added the RecXpress product to it, which takes away a huge amount of work, lots of hours. So yeah, I think it's one of the best products on the market, to be honest with you. But then I'm not biased, am I?
But I do think you've got evidence to support it. I think one of the anecdotes you gave to us when you were preparing is that you installed for someone, I think 30 years ago, and you haven't heard an issue from them since. So
they're still our clients.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that stands the test of time, to coin a phrase.
Well, when I look at the clients that are on this demo today, on this presentation, quite a few of them already are your clients and our clients, and they've been with us for 10, 15 years, and been very happy with the work and the product. So I'm assuming, I don't get many complaints, so I'm assuming they are happy with it. So
yeah, and exactly.
AWCape never complains.
I think look, there's two purposes for today. It's one, to give the reassurance to those clients that nothing is changing and they're only going to get a better options, and some of those options include cloud hosting or the web screens and the features. And I'm going to bring Lemohang back on now just to
I want to say one more thing. Sorry, Jeff, to interrupt you. There's one thing I must say. By doing the webinars, I feel that I have to delay my retirement now for 10 to 15 years, because I've given another 10 to 15 years on the product. And that's what's happened. We've actually given the client value for the future, that now they don't have to worry, they are going to be on the browser, they are going to be on the web, and they can do, eventually will be SaaS subscription pricing will come in. But at this point in time, they can do their own cloud-based solution. And like Khalil showed you, a huge amount of saving there. I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands. So it's definitely a good solution.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Bobby. Thanks for your time. I'm going to give Lemohang a chance to show some of those features and just go through the roadmap side of things as well. Lemohang, are you back there? My screen doesn't seem to be showing.
Yes, I'm back here.
Let me get up the. Here we go. Okay, if you can just go through the roadmap for the audience and kind of expand on what Bobby was saying about what's coming for customers.
Okay, so on our side, we released the version 2021 last year. It was a very good release. What we had was our web screens, which we've been using. Bobby released his Cashbook. We also had our norming asset manager also being released on the web. So on the core products of the web, on the core modules, we are roughly 85, actually not even 85%, we are 95% there, with all of the transactional screens being available on the 2021 release. Within 2022, we're going to be doing new functionality, going to the web, with our view to complete the web screens by the end of 2023. We'll be doing massive improvements on the ISV ecosystem to help them actually modernize the solution and come on board with their UIs as well. We're also going to be doing user requests. Some of the requests which we've been considering is possibly having additional costs on the purchase order, not just on the GRV. Those are the requests we'll be going through via our ideas portal, which I'll show you a little bit later.
Okay. And the ideas portal, I mean, you go into a little bit more detail. Can customers request things that they think are outstanding? I mean, is that how the process works just for them?
Yes. So as you all know, Sage 300 is a mature product. So when we look at the product and you look at your general ledger, your accounts payable, accounts receivable, we feel that we've got a lot of depth in our product and a lot of functionality. So what we've created is an ideas portal. Now, the ideas portal is where customers go on and they suggest in how to improve the solution and how to make it better. On that, customers can also go view other ideas and they can vote on it. We have actually allocated sprint time. So within our development on every single feature, we've said that we are going to look at the ideas portal and we will take the top features within the ideas portal and we'll try and incorporate it in the new release going forward.
Okay, great. Okay, and then there's a couple of items here that you kind of glanced over, but I think one of the things that might be new to the customers is Sage Data and Analytics. Maybe just go a little bit in detail around what that is.
Okay. Sage Data Analytics is our new BI tool, which we'll be including within Sage 300. So this is an add-on product which you select. How it actually works is that it takes your data from your Sage 300 database, it puts it in the cloud, and it allows you to actually do reporting within the cloud. Now you are able to slice and dice data in the cloud, view your reports on a browser, and actually run your Sage 300 and do consolidations if you need to consolidate. So out of the box, it will allow you to consolidate multiple databases. It comes with all of the reports which you get within your financial report writer. So we've got over 30 reports pre-built into the application with data connectors. Now, Sage Data Analytics is supposed to take us to the next level of reporting. So we still have our Sage Financial Report Writer, and within our version 2022, we're making it a 64-bit compliant. However, our financial report writer is limited just to the general ledger reporting. So Sage Data and Analytics allows us to do our reporting in the cloud of our accounts payable, accounts receivable, also take on third-party modules and external modules, such as your payroll module, your operational modules, all in one place doing your reporting analytics.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I heard a little insight on that as well. I believe what Sage, the clever guys at Sage are doing, they're making sure that the data and analytics is looking at all the Sage products. So a migration from Premier to 300cloud, for example, will be a lot easier because of the mapping of the underlying data structures. So I think that's great to hear as well, to look at that customer journey for clients that are reaching the end of the capabilities of the smaller product, moving to a bigger product like 300cloud. So I think that's great.
Yes, and I think my favorite thing about Sage Data Analytics is that if you want to take it on, we can actually set up and get you running on Sage Data and Analytics in under 10 minutes.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, that's awesome to know. And I think anyone is interested in a little bit more information, we're happy to can provide that. And I'm sure as it gets released, there'll be more in the press to look out for as well. Okay, so maybe it's time for a little bit of a demo. We are running a little bit behind time, but I think it's really important for you to show some of these web screen features and all the things that are coming. So I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. So just starting off, can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
So this is your typical Sage 300 desktop application. What you'd have is your modules on your left. You'll be able to expand your modules and you should be able to drill down. Now with Sage 300 Cloud or our web screens, I'm going over here. Now with our web screens, it's browser based. So I'm running this off my local machine. However, you can run it off a specific URL anywhere in the world. So you'd type in your URL address, you'd come onto your page, you'd put in your username and log on, and then you'd log on to your application. Now, when you log on to your application, with Sage 300, there's going to be more functionality on the web screens than there is on the desktop, purely because we now need to migrate the product. As we had, Bobby said, we started off on a DOS environment, we moved to a Windows environment, now we're moving to a cloud environment. So you'll notice that there'll be more functionality on the web screens than there is on the desktop. Currently, you can run both solutions. So I can run the web screen. So if I'm working at the office, I can have my current desktop. I could be working on my desktop, and then later on, I can decide, okay, it's time to go home. Instead of packing up everything at the office, I just go home. When I get home, I log on via URL, and then I can take on the web screens. Now, all of the information which was sitting on my desktop view will still be available on my web screen view. So I'll be able to post bashes, do transactions. So people can use both at the same time. When they log on to the web, they will be greeted with dashboards. Now, on these dashboards, it's your choice on which dashboards you can have. You can have up to 6 dashboards from a selection of 15. So if I click on widget over here, I can actually select which dashboards I want to see. Now, on the dashboards, we can actually come in over here and you can say, look, on my dashboards, I want to go play around with my parameters. So I can come in over here and I can edit my settings. So I can go ahead and edit those specific parameters, put in more filters, etc. Now, as I said, this is a replication of our desktop. So if you click on your expand over here, you are able to see all of your modules like you would have seen on your desktop. You are then able to drill down into a specific module. So if I go to my inventory control, on my inventory control, I can go to my favorite screen within Sage 300 is my location details. So from my location details, I'm able to see what is happening with my stock from one specific point. So I can come in here with my viewfinder. I can come in on my viewfinder and I can select an item. And then on that specific item, just like I have on my desktop, I can view my specific costs of my items. I can see my quantity in hand, quantity on purchase order. And if I wanted to, we still have the functionality of drill downs. So I can click over here and I can drill down into an additional screen where I can see my quantity on hand, quantity on purchase order. I can actually hide that tree if I want to, and then I can see what is my expected arrival date, etc. So all of the functionality which is sitting on the desktop is available on the web. Now, when I say what do we mean as we've got additional functionality on the web? So if I go on my order entry and I go click on an order, now every business is unique and we have our own terminology on how we actually name stuff. So some people might call a customer, some people might call a customer client, just to make the experience a little bit easier. With the web screens, you can actually come into your settings, and if you click on customize, you are able now to change the labels of the screens based on your terminology within your business. Now, this is user security dependent as well. So an administrator would log on to the solution, they would be able to change the labels of the screens and they'll be able to see what's going on. Now, we also looked at functionality, working late at night, what happens in the normal environment. So when I'm actually opening up my Sage 300, I could come in over here and I could say, okay, have I captured that order? Yes or no? What I can do is that I can click on my open windows here and I can see which windows have I got open. So I can actually see, did I capture that order? Yes or no, if the windows are open. I can also come in and I can click on my history. So on my history, I can see all of the recently used screens. So I can bounce back into those recently used screens. If I want to go into my assets, I can, let me just say, if I want to go into my GL trial balance, I can come in over here and I can click on my GL trial balance. Now, on your GL trial balance, it's the same functionality, same reporting tool as we used. So when you go print out your GL, you should be able to have the same functionality as you had on your desktop. So when you print out, your GL will come out just as you see your viewer on your desktop. It will actually appear as a viewer on the web screens. I can even go further within Sage 300. We've got additional functionality over here, such as our custom reports. This is where you can add your custom reports. Just as you had your custom reports on your desktop, it's now available on your web screen as well. I can even go in here and I can go into my inquiries. Now, our inquiries is new functionality we built into Sage 300, which actually allows us to run a SQL query in the front end. So we've given you a couple of queries. I think we've given you 20 of them, where are standard templates, where you can come in and you can say, look, I want to see all of my open transactions, my fully paid transactions from accounts receivable. So I can come in, I can click on fully paid transactions in accounts receivable. Sage 300 is a multi-currency solution, so I can see the transactions either in my customer's currency or my reporting currency. I'm going to say customer's currency. And then you're able to run that specific filter. Now, I can come in here and I can say on this specific query, I need to put in filters. I can come in and I can say, look, I want to filter by date. So I can put in filter by date. I can come put in by document. I can put in a filter by currency type. Now, once I'm happy with those specific parameters and filters I put in, I can then save the query so I don't have to do this every single time. I can even take this specific data and I can say, okay, I want to play around with this data even further. So if I click on export, it actually allows me to export the specific data sitting on the screen into Excel, where I can actually go play around with it even further. Now, another thing with Sage 300 is we've taken our knowledge base and we've now put it on the web because of our migration all the way to the cloud. So if you click on F1 like you normally do within Sage 300, we're able to take that specific query and put it on a web browser. So you're able to actually go find out what's happening in our user guides online. Also, our knowledge basin is online as well. So when I have a query, say for instance, I've got an error message within Sage 300. Most of the time we get our error messages at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when we can't call people. All you have to do now is copy the error message, put it in Google, click on search, and it will actually give you a KB on how to resolve that error message. When I come in over here, when we were talking about our ideas portal, you can come in over here and you can click submit idea. This will actually bring up your ideas portal. On your ideas portal, you are able now to come in and put in an idea of what you would like to see in Sage 300. What we do is we take our top solutions and we look at them and we consider them, and then what we can actually tell you is here are all of our planned feature functionality which we've took from your ideas portal, and this is what we're going to be building into Sage 300. Okay.
Excellent, Lemohang. I think that's a really quick snapshot of what's going on, and there's so much more I'm sure you could show us. I mean, even the data analytics and all the other things we talked about on the roadmap, and we're happy to take those questions in the chat. And I can see already a few questions coming through from the different people. We'll try and answer those just in the Q&A right now. But let's just go quickly wrap up. There's one or two more slides I just want to share with the audience before we take direct questions. I think the main purpose of this webinar is to show that a lot of people do talk about digital transformation, and actually that word can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. But effectively, what we're talking about is transforming your business using technology. And we've talked a little bit about cloud hosting today. So whether you're on Sage 300 and you want to cloud host and the cost savings that come through with that and the benefits, or whether you're on some other system that you want to actually host, those options are available to you to kind of just take away a little bit of that headache, a little bit of the cost savings, so you can actually start thinking a little bit more clearly around your business and what you need to do. And especially within South Africa, the economy is not in a great situation. COVID and the recent unrest has really tightened the belt on many businesses. So, where you can get some cost savings without losing focus on your main parts of your business, so much the better. In the same manner, we've started up as AWCape outsourced payroll side of things, and that really has made a benefit to many businesses. We particularly have done a little bit differently to other outsourced providers, where we've taken 300 people as our primary system, which is obviously the best in class HR and payroll system at the moment for South African customers. And I really do think it makes a big difference to the customers that use it. It saves on the implementation costs if you go through the outsource option with us, and we also give you access to the ESS and HR functions, so you still have control within your HR environment rather than completely losing control of that. So it really is just to focus on outsourced payroll, and I think most businesses need to consider these things. Maybe even in your accounts department, it's not necessary for some of the functions that you're doing right now. Lastly, there's obviously, just from a digital transformation, there's been a lot of talk, and we kind of touched on it earlier about SaaS. It's the news in the press from Sage, and we would be loath to not kind of mention in this webinar, is around Sage Intacct, which is the leading cloud financial system in the market right now. I mean, it's been there in the top Gartner quadrant for 5 years in a row from a functionality perspective. So it is definitely worth exploring if you're looking at new ERP systems. But I think what you've seen today, if you're on 300cloud or you're exploring options, there's a very powerful system there for you as well. And given where the model in the future of the roadmap is going, you can actually make it work from a cloud perspective as well. Just one further slide on Intacct. The functionality is great, but it's never enough if people aren't as satisfied. And I think Bobby shows that, and Lemohang is passionate for the product. There's a lot of customer satisfaction with 300cloud, but in the same manner, with the 20 years that it's been in the States, Intacct is always at the top of the customer reviews. So really, just in summation on where everything is in terms of the market, it really doesn't matter what you decide from your digital transformation journey. But I think this slide for me really touches on what you need to do and why you need to do it now. And the fact is that Accenture research has shown that over the last sort of 10 years or so, those who've invested in technology, and when I say invest in technology, they flip their IT budget from just doing maintenance to more on innovation. They are showing they're reaping the rewards, and COVID has even leapfrogged them even further with 5 times the revenue growth. So although it sounds like a bit of a cost investment to invest in these big systems or different options and the change management that goes along with that, the revenue growth that comes with it is well worth the effort. And I think that's the message I'd like you all to take out of that. So whichever system you go with, or whether you're just enhancing 300cloud and really looking to utilize it, or some other way of doing your business, I think that should be the message we're going to take out of that. Okay, so on to some questions, and I think there's some questions come through from the audience. So let's see if we can bring some of those up, and I'll direct them. Okay, the first question I've got is, has Sage released Sage Analysis for web screen? Lemohang, I think if you could answer that one.
So Sage Data Analytics is a web-based application tool. We are releasing the application this month. So if you would like to have a demo and you'd like to get going on the solution, please contact the guys from AWCape, and we can actually start talking about that today.
Okay, fantastic. And I think while you're on the screen there, the next one is all around what browsers can be used for the web screens, or anything that's restricted. I think that's what people like.
So good news, we are actually built on HTML5. So we can run on any browser you want to, as long as it supports HTML5. Now, with Sage 300, we also give you the functionality of using different devices. So if you are working late at night and you're reviewing data, there's no need to actually boot up your laptop. My wife hates it, but you can actually switch on a tablet and you can run the application via the tablet.
Sure. Okay. It'll be hard to use I can't use it on a tablet, but I've seen it. I've seen people use it on their mobile phones, and I'm always amazed by people's ability to make it play. And then the next one, let's see. Can one use the traditional shortcuts in web? That's again for you, Lemohang. I think that's the F5, the F9 functionality keys. Is that possible, or is it a new way of doing it through the web screen?
So that is the one aspect I can't give you on the web. The traditional shortcuts, not all of the shortcut screens are there. Like, I know you can call up the calculator on the desktop. You won't be able to do that on the cloud. However, the F1 function still works, the tab function still works, but not all of the shortcuts which were available on the desktop are available on the web.
Fantastic. Okay, and then there's two questions here for you, Bobby. Obviously, the customers on like your product, but can bank statements be imported via RecXpress and bank payments generated by EFT Express?
Correct. Yeah, no, we've got about 260 different bank formats already available that you can import, and we've got all the main ones in South Africa, as well as all the main EFT formats as well to send payments to your bank.
Okay. And those updates that you're kind of maintaining with the banks will be the same with whether you're using the standard UIs or web screens. So that's kind of the follow-up question.
Yeah, because they are processed via the views themselves and not through the actual UIs. Yeah, it goes across the whole spectrum.
Fantastic.
No problem at all.
Okay, great.
And just by the way, if they have a new format, we allow, if you purchase the product, we give you one new format you can create. We'll create it for you and add it to your list of formats available. But like I said, we've got most of the formats already.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that's good to know. I think that's the consistency that people would want with the web screens. All right, so I think that's all the questions. Unless there's anyone else in the audience want to ask a quick question, or we're welcome to stay online for another 5 minutes.
Jeff, I just wanted to highlight one thing which I think Bobby just didn't mention. On his development, he showed us that there's a 3-tier architecture. So what that actually means is that if you've got any custom integrations going on in your Sage 300, you are able to move into the cloud and those integrations will not be affected, purely because you were developed within the SDK. So if your development was actually in line with Sage 300 standard protocol, you could move to the cloud today and not have to worry about any of your customizations. The only time a customization would be affected is if you change the screen. However, if you haven't changed the screen, you should be able to have the same functionality as you had in your desktop, including your integrations.
Sure. Well, that's great news. I think that's put a lot of minds at ease, especially those have been the 20-30-year customers that have got a lot of other systems integrated or suppliers integrated into their SDK. So that's great news. We did touch on the license fees for Cashbook with Bobby. There's a question around the license fees for 300 to use the web streams. Maybe you could just touch on what that's going to cost users from the Sage perspective, not from the Cashbook Peresoft perspective.
So from the Sage perspective, what we are doing is we are rewarding our loyal customers. So as long as you are on plan with Sage 300, we will actually give you the web screens.
Okay, awesome. So effectively free. So free lunches, and if you're a host and you save some money, great. So I think it's the opportune time to kind of join in. Great. So if there's no more questions, we'll just hang on the line for anyone who does want to say anything else. But I think if you can please drop this chat window will be available afterwards. So you can still ask questions there and we'll respond in time. AWCape website's got contact details. You probably have email addresses from this as well, so you contact. We're also on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We've invested heavily in that with the online space, so we're very easy to contact. And just from my side, I'd just like to thank the audience for your time and hour here, and also to all our guests, Bobby for making the time, Peter, Lemohang, it's always great to catch up with you guys. But yeah, it's been a great insight. I've learned a lot myself. I'm sure the audience really appreciated your time as well. And go safe, guys. I know there's a lot going on out in our country, so be well.
Thanks, Jeff. It was really great being on here.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone.
And thanks for the clients coming along.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jeff.